Hello everyone, my name is Mr. B and welcome back to another video. So a while back, the next manga awards for 2022 was held and it was hosted by Garnt, or known as Giguk, as well as Mori Calliope from Whole Life. And this award basically showcases the new awards to have come out sometime around 2022, and it's held to showcase some of the best from last year. Now, I'm not someone who really cares much for awards for mangas, but the reason why I bring this up is because last year introduced to me some of my personal favorite mangas that I might be talking about in the future: Oshinoko, Frieren, Dandadan, and Musume Cinderella Grey. These are just some of the mangas that were part of this award last year, and I was introduced to them and I ended up being really big fans of them. So when this award came out, I decided, why not do a video covering every single one of the winners? Now originally I planned to review 6 of the mangas, the 3 winners for the physical and the 3 winners for the web version. But there were 2 problems with that. Number 1 was that it was going to take such a long time to do because I would have to read every single one of these mangas for me to form an opinion. And number 2, I realized when I was writing the script, the video would be taking much longer than I originally intended, so I decided to just narrow it down and focus on only one for this video. And if there are any more that I'm interested in, I'll talk about them in the future. So with that being said, this video is for the first manga that I read from these awards, and it's a manga that I was interested in once I heard the description for this manga, and the manga is Magilumiere. When you think of magical girls, it boils down to 2 distinct styles: the shoujo-esque Sailor Moon or the dark and depressing Madoka Magica. I'm not saying that any of these are bad. Madoka Magica is one of my personal favorite animes, and from what I've read of Sailor Moon, I'm enjoying it so far. With that being said, there hasn't been really any new magical girl manga or anime that has been released that's been piqued my interest, I guess. And to me, that's why Magic caught my attention. It's a new magical girl anime, and it sounded really interesting. To summarize the earlier chapters of the manga takes place in a world where magical girls is just a profession. It's basically similar to a doctor or an accountant. Anyone can be a magical girl. Only condition, of course, is you're a girl, because it's not magical boy, it's magical girl. The manga's main character, Kana, is a college grad that is looking for a job. One day during an interview, the office was attacked by a monster, and so the office decided to call in a magical girl. And a magical girl came in by the name of Hitomi. But when she arrived, she realizes that the monster was a lot stronger than was first reported. So she decides to ask for help. But nobody was willing to help her because they're either too scared or they just don't have permission to do, because that's Japanese corporations. They don't have permissions, they can't really do anything. So Kana, being the absolute chat that she is, jumps in, decides to help Hitomi, and the two ended up saving everyone there. Hitomi, who realizes Kana's potential, decides to recruit her to a company, and this company is called Magilumiere, and Kana ends up becoming a magical girl. After reading the first chapter of the manga, I was incredibly hooked. In a genre that really hasn't had anything new since Budoka first aired, it was such a breath of fresh air to read this manga. Everything from the concept of the story as well as how the magical system works, to me, was the best thing about this manga. The magical system in this world works very different from the magical system that we all know. Instead of the usual interpretation of magic, Magilumiere's magic works akin to how technology works in the real world. Using the right magic with the right programming and the right specs not only allows them to achieve their job as the best as they could, but it also allows them to create magic that no other company or magical girl has even used or come up with. This is very unique because instead of it following the concepts of like Harry Potter or Fate, it's more akin to when Apple releases a new phone and other companies decide to copy it. Like I said, magic in this world is akin to technology in the real world. Companies will have to do research, new tests in order to create the best magic or to create the best programming that suits their magic before releasing it to the public for everyone else to use. This is such a unique take in magic that I have never seen in any other media, and I think that's what makes Magilumiere stand out the most. Seeing the girls or the companies that use how to solve a problem, create their own unique magic to solve that problem, was really interesting and kept me at the edge of my seat at times. Having said all that though, in regards to the actual story, there hasn't really been anything to say at the moment. There's been only roughly 40 or 50 chapters out, and most of it has to do with building the world and the characters rather than building the actual story. There have been hints here and there, but for the most part, it's very much focus on the characters rather than the actual story. Although the main story is slowly progressing, what made me fall in love with this manga and why I wanted to talk about it is the characters. Kana, the main character, isn't strong or gifted. Aside from her analytical skills and great memory, she, for the most part, is just a normal person. She could legitimately be an actual person, and to me, that's what makes this manga stand out. Like I said before, anyone can be a magical girl. Normal people can be magical girls, and that's where the strength of the manga is. The best comparison, I guess, is shows like My Hero Academia. Shows like My Hero Academia, for example, sets place in a world where virtually anyone can be superheroes, but to me, it never really reached the level of what Magilumiere did for me. People stand out in My Hero Academia because of their abilities. If they've been given like a unique ability, they can stand out above the rest. All Might, with his unique ability, is able to stand out above the rest compared to a character like, I don't know, Mineta. Most stories, most shonen stories especially, feel that way, and that's fine. But to me, that's what sets apart Magilumiere from the rest. It's the fact that anyone can be special. Although the Magilumiere deals with magical abilities and girls fighting against monsters, it felt the most real out of most mangas that I've read. Seeing Kana struggling with not only being a magical girl, but also with her own insecurities felt real. It didn't feel like I was reading a fantasy story. Instead, it felt like I was looking at someone trying to find their place in the world. It's different from like Deku or Naruto. Kana didn't eat a person's hair to become OP. She didn't have a QB in her body. She was just a normal person. The best example of something similar is probably Mob from Mob Psycho. Mob Psycho is a story about espers and overpowered characters and ghosts, but at the heart of it, it's a story about Mob. It's a story about Mob growing as a person from each episode, from each chapter, and that's what it feels like reading Magalume. Seeing Kana grow from chapter to chapter to me was the best part of this manga. And of course, Kana isn't the only person in this manga. There are other magical girls as well, all with their own unique takes on what a magical girl is. It's like asking a police officer why do they want to become a police officer. Some might say this is what they're good at. Some might say they want to uphold justice. Some might say they want to do it for money. There's a lot of different answers that you can get, and that's the same for this manga. That's the same for this story. There was a moment where Kana was doubting herself and what she was doing, but at that moment, she was praised. She was praised for doing her job well. It was such a simple scene, but it stood out to me because, again, it felt real. It felt like nothing I've ever experienced in manga before. It was such a simple scene, and yet it stood out to me the most. It was real, it was relatable, and it was something simple as just being told, well done. And I'm sure we've all experienced something like that before. We've all experienced moments of doubt, but when you realize someone saying, hey, good job, you're doing good, it brings out a lot of satisfaction that what you're doing is right. So to summarize everything that I just said, Macrame is a magical girl story. It's a story about girls beating out monsters and saving the world, acting as heroes. And yet it feels the most real. It feels the most authentic to the actual real world. I felt like I was seeing parts of myself in some of these characters, both the highs and the lows. To me, that's what makes Magilumiere so special, and I'm really excited to see where the story holds in the future. And if you're interested in what I just said, give it a read. Personally, I think it's really good. And with that being said, that's it for the end of the video. Hit a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, leave a comment if you have any opinions about what I just said, or if you have any other mangas that I want to talk about, I would love to read them. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.